Hi, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, a travel-ish podcast.
This seat disinfected.
Oh, hey, Kiernan.
Hi, Ryan. Well,
you're not wearing a mask right now?
No, it messes with the microphone.
Yeah, we are at least 6 feet apart. I mean, we're miles apart even.
So, let's give it. I think we should probably give a status as to where we've been, how long it's been since we've recorded, how the world has changed.
Yeah, we are. Well, I'm in Brooklyn, and I guess you look like you're in Boston.
Yeah, still in Boston. I mean, we neither of us have really left the house. Well, actually, you've left the house within the boundaries of what is recommended.
Yeah, no, I have definitely left the house, but always wearing a mask, always social distancing, and going to wide open spaces with hopefully as little people as possible.
Oh, you should sing that song, "Wide Open Spaces."
Wide open. We don't have the rights to that.
No, but you love country music, so I
do.
Because that Dixie Chicks? Is that a Dixie Chicks song?
That was a Dixie. It is a Dixie Chicks song.
I don't know why I know that.
Yeah.
Dixie Chicks were canceled because they were mean to George W. Bush. Is that when they got canceled?
But they're back now.
Oh, they're back.
Yeah.
You can be uncanceled?
Yeah, I think you can be uncanceled. If we talk about being canceled too much, we might be canceled, so we should just avoid it.
But yeah. No, let's barrel on. I have become intimately familiar with everything that's within a 20-minute walk of my house.
Exciting.
And I mean, we should say we've both been locked down in self-isolation. I believe this is week 10.
Is it? I have been in isolation since March 13th. So yeah, I guess.
So it's about week 10, I think.
Yeah.
And
Boston shut down like May 1, right? You guys waited. They were just waiting.
No.
Oh, your mayor was really. Actually, he was really aggressive.
No, because we were one of the greatest moments our city has had in a long while. Is we had a biomedical conference where everybody had COVID. They were kissing and licking each other, and these were biomedical professionals. Yeah.
With sales reps.
I mean, at least they went out with a bang, So no, we were locked down fast, and Mass is being very conservative about the reopening up. And you and I, we've only done a one pod episode previous in quarantine. You listen back now, we were so innocent. I think we both it sounded like we expected just to be back re-engaged with the world sooner than we actually will be.
Yeah, I haven't been. This is probably the longest I haven't been on an airplane in my adult life. Like this.
I understand. Do you know I was supposed to be in France last week? That got canceled.
Dollywood. I was gonna.
Oh, Dollywood. Dollywood's off.
Yeah, Dollywood was supposed to be two weekends ago.
Meanwhile, I'm also waiting. Yellowstone National Park is opening up. That's where my next trip was going to be with the family, and they are slowly opening up. But it does not seem like the lodges are like taking reservations, or maybe they're not updating the systems, or maybe the people can't come to work. I don't know what's going on, but it's just it's chaos out there, Ryan.
When are you thinking about going?
Well, we think maybe fall, maybe September seems like a reasonable. Time to put. Seems like maybe that will be before the giant second wave. Is this with the kid, with Charlie? Yeah, no, I can't escape just alone to Yellowstone. I have responsibilities and a child who depends on me.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's his first national park. It's something to remember.
It may be his first national park. Maybe we'll go to Acadia. That's the closest to Boston, closest to New York too. Yeah. Maybe we could get up there, but it's a big question. Do you want to go stay in a hotel? I don't know. So you remember Chase Whiteside, friend of the pod? Acquaintance of the pod, yes. Yeah. A documentarian who we had to... We basically use him as a seat filler, like if a guest cancels or we need to fill. Yeah.
Well, we have to say now Peabody nominee Chase Whiteside because he was nominated for a Peabody last week for his film.
And when do they announce the winners?
Who knows? It's a Peabody. Who knows that?
I'm looking forward to hearing whether he wins or not. And then we might be introducing him as acquaintance of the pod, Peabody loser. Chase Whiteside.
Well, he escaped to Puerto Vallarta, and he's been in Puerto Vallarta since the beginning of March.
Now, I thought his plan was to see out 6 weeks there.
Well, there's just no way to get back at this
So
point.
is he just going to live there?
Well, he's supposed to be coming back in early June, but he's been staying at a ghost hotel where he is the only guest.
That's insanity.
At a hotel. Yeah, it's a boutique. So it's like 35 rooms.
Does he
or
have
whatever,
a kitchen?
No, they've been, the thing about Mexico and like their ability to, make, I got to be careful here.
Yeah. Watch whatever you're about to say.
My understanding
the
is
lockdown hasn't been as serious.
The lockdown in Puerto Vallarta is not as serious because it's a hot town. They've only had like a handful of confirmed cases.
Sure.
Yeah, so he's getting probably some.
Wow.
Good,
so
some good
do you
growth.
think that was ultimately the right decision? I remember us debating out whether fleeing town was the right move.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind being like upstate New York right now in like a small town, but ultimately Brooklyn's been fine. We've had delivery, we've had a lot of discussions about the ethics of delivery.
Sure. Yeah. Same.
Yeah. So it could have been worse, but I think practicing social distancing and washing your hands a lot and tipping a lot. These are all.
When will you
important
take
things.
the subway again? The subway in New York City.
I mean, I got sick when I took the subway normally.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I can't imagine when I'm going to have to go to an office. I mean, already I went like once a week to, I work remote.
Yeah.
But we don't have that office anymore. Because we had no reason to pay for an office.
Right.
So who knows when I will have to take the subway. I mean, I have friends in Manhattan.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. If I still lived in New York, it wouldn't matter. We wouldn't be able to see each other. It'd be impossible.
I have seen no friends in real life, with the exception of my friend Kevin, who did a contact-free drop off of some cookies that he baked.
That was very nice of Kevin.
Literally, we're both wearing masks, and we're standing like 6 feet apart from me. I mean, it's.
And was he just tossing the cookies from 6 feet away, frisbeeing them right into your mouth?
I had him place them like in the middle of us and then back away.
Yeah. At my day job, they have said a voluntary return to office through the fall, at least. So, not heading back anytime soon.
And a lot of organizations, I mean, big companies are saying, you know what, maybe we could save money without the office. I mean, I think this is the really the only positive to come out of this will be more work from home. Which is probably good for the environment. Good for people's sanity.
Not good work from home when you have an infant. When you have an infant and you're trying to work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, you need daycares to be open.
I need daycares to be open. And sadly, the daycare is near my office. So I guess I'll be going in whenever those fire up. Now, so Ryan, here's what I'm thinking for the day. So of course, it's still, as we said in our first quarantine episode, we don't feel like it's right to get on here and talk about like, oh, here's like great historic houses you should go visit in London, right? Because like you probably can't get to London unless you're in London, in which case you probably already know about those houses. And so I thought that we would do, this kind of general check-in. And then we have a few news updates. We got a Quest for Rick Steves update I've got to get to. And I'm
sure that's going well. Even Rick Steves caught in a quarantine won't make time for us. That's what you're going to tell us, right?
You're going to have to wait for the official Quest for Rick Steves segment.
All right.
But, this is basically, we've been hearing from listeners who have said, I'm stuck at home. I'm in quarantine. I would like them to come back. I understand the hardships of a travel podcast during a non-travel time. But, just kind of want to know how you guys are doing. Hear your thoughts. So we're going to do a little bit of that today.
That's what we're doing, yeah.
And you've traveled a little bit, so you're going to talk.
Well, I don't want to say that I've traveled because that makes me feel like a bad.
You drove though, right?
Drove in a
like a zip car.
A zip car.
Did you disinfect it?
Oh, we disinfected. We bring spray like bleach, like Clorox spray and rags, and we clean the whole thing while wearing our mask, and then we let it sit for a while before we can take our mask off. So we super safe, super clean.
Now, Ryan, I noticed that you have committed to a quarantine beard.
I haven't committed to it. I just
got lazier and lazier.
Well, that might be true, but no, I don't actually own the material I would need to actually cut it at this point. Like I would need some kind of electric thing.
Stuck with it.
Yeah. I've never had a beard before. I'm a 38-year-old man.
People, do you know that COVID droplets stay in beards longer than they do on skin?
Totally.
So you are at a higher risk right now.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, the second it is safe and legal to get a haircut, I am going to get a cut and a shave. I'm really looking forward to it.
Do you remember when Obama you sent such a strong message to the nation when he hugged the person who came back from an Ebola country?
I do kind of remember that. Yeah.
I feel like maybe we should make that gesture for the world. We'll mail each other our microphones and we'll use each other's microphones to show how much we trust the non-COVID nature of the other.
But wouldn't the COVID die in the mail?
I think the science is still being figured out.
I've been licking all my Amazon orders, so I'm hoping that's true.
All right, so let's kick off with your you don't want to call them travels, but your day trips, your amusements, your self-amusements.
Yeah, my isolations.
So what you've been going to a zip car, you disinfect it, and then where have you been driving to? Other parts of New York?
Yeah, so this is funny, Kiernan, because I think if folks have listened to the 1,500 episodes of this show, they know that I am a city traveler.
Yeah,
I like
you
cities.
Love a city.
I talk about cities. You talk about national parks.
A burly outdoorsman.
Yeah, you're out there, and I've always been a little skeptical of the outdoors. There's sun, there's bugs, there's heat.
I feel like I'm the Boy Scout, and you're scouting for boys. I mean, who could, that just came out so natural. That's amazing.
Yeah, I know.
The English language is great, folks.
Yeah, it really is. But everything is closed. I mean, Broadway, we think Broadway is closed until next year, Kiernan. Next year, can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, our audience is thrilled because famously the Out of Office hates anything to do with Broadway. Our Broadway episode's doing horrible. I won't even mention that Ryan's wearing a Hamilton t-shirt right now.
So Broadway is shut down, restaurants. I saw somebody tweet something funny. It was like, I wish I developed some real hobbies instead of going out to eat. I feel the same way.
Yeah.
All restaurants are shut down. So when you're sitting in your apartment on a Saturday in New York, it really limited. You don't want to go to Central Park. You don't want to go to Prospect Park. These places are packed. So lucky enough to have access to a zip car and have done quite a bit of hiking.
Do you have hiking boots?
I have tennis shoes that I use. I don't have hiking boots, but I'm not doing like hiking. That's that.
No, you're a tenderfoot. You're a tenderfoot.
I'm doing moderate paths. I've downloaded I've downloaded this app called All Trails.
Oh, yeah, All Trails. Fantastic. You got to, if you go hiking, you got to have All Trails.
Well, we had a nightmare at this one park in New Jersey that we went to because we got off the path and we couldn't find our way back to the path. And this is pre-All Trails.
Oh, because on All Trails, you can see where you are in relation to the trail. It's very good.
It's amazing. You'd think that Google could get it together to, do every trail.
Can't trust Google. No. So, not in the trail business yet.
Yeah. So have downloaded All Trails. We'll link to it in the show notes. Great app. Love it.
That's an interview we might be able to do during quarantine. Get some All Trails people on here.
I bet All Trails is blowing up in quarantine. It's funny because
it's a fascinating. I'll put it in the bank. Yeah, that's
when
good.
You go to look at all like the Google reviews of various like state parks and local parks.
Yeah,
you'll see like no review, like 7 months before the most recent review, and then 9 reviews in the last month. Because like people are like, wait a minute, we have access to local parks.
That makes me think that those people, if they are listening, should probably go back and listen to our state parks episode with New York Times journalist Peter Kujawinski, who wrote all about how they are undiscovered wonders. And it sounds like you're discovering that right now.
I am. And, obviously folks should check to make sure their state parks are open, check to make sure some parking lots are closed. They're doing like half capacity.
That happened to me. We tried to go to a state park and it was closed.
But what we're trying to do is to find like the less popular state parks. So outside of New York, there is Bear Mountain, which everyone goes to. If you see somebody hiking in New York, from Instagram, often they're in Bear Mountain, right? But there is a park behind that called Harriman State Park that is kind of loosely connected to Bear Mountain, but way less popular. And it's a terrific hike. We did that over the weekend. Like a 5-mile loop. and some really beautiful scenery. Took a picture on top of it's called Claudius Smith Rock, and the story goes that there was a fugitive who escaped from the town. And wasn't much of a town now, so I can't imagine what it was like then. And he went up to Claudius Smith Rock, and that's where he hung. His name was Claudius Smith, and that's where he hung out, and that's what they called him. So that's how the rock got named that. Really cool hike. Went up to Epsos, which is a little town upstate New York. Did this really cool hike called the Black Creek Preserve. Which had some lovely scenery, and not too intense. So just some really fun stuff. It's been nice. So the weather's been okay, and you're really able to distance because just not that many people at these parks. We might encounter 10 people in 5 hours.
Wow, really? So you're finding that people aren't at the state park, and you think that's probably just because of the distance from New York City?
Yeah, I mean we're specifically picking ones that are not
further
popular.
out. Yeah.
So when we went to Mount Beacon and we hiked up the back way, like the front was packed. So we just okay. So that is my suggestion. It's like try to pick a place will not be crowded. Look to see what's not popular. This is and then go there. Yes, actually, this is a good little hack for that, which is the Audubon Society owns preserves and lands that they try to buy up to like help with bird migration. And you can, for some sort of low grade membership to the Audubon Society, you can gain access to those areas, and they're great little hikes. But they're not as much on people's radar as state national parks. Oh, that's clever.
Yeah, very good.
So this is funny because I was like, okay, so Memorial Day weekend's coming up. It would be nice to spend some time in a big park, and I didn't realize how far away all the national parks were from New York City.
Yeah, because you want a national park, capital N, capital P. You want something that ends in park. You didn't want like a memorial or like a national seashore or a national recreation area. Because those are all over the place. But
sure, I could. Fire Island is one of those. I don't want to go to Fire Island in the middle of an epidemic.
Right. and national parks. There are 62 protected areas that are named national parks. And only one is in the northeast of the United States. And that it kind of makes sense, right? Because parks are generally huge. They encompass big, unpopulated areas. And, in New England and near New England, these were all populated. They had cities and towns built all over the place. So the closest one to New York, it's probably about equidistant, actually. You got Acadia up in Maine, which has to be, like 8-hour drive from New York City?
It was exactly 8 hours. I just looked it up.
Yeah, because it's a very far drive even from Boston. Or you could go south, you go to Shenandoah. But Shenandoah I've got to believe Shenandoah's got to be quite popular because you get all the folks from Washington, D.C.
Closed.
Oh, it's closed, sure, because they're scared of Washington, D.C. people coming out. Yeah.
Yeah, I looked at both of them. And so, we're lucky in New York that we have the Hudson Valley that has just an incredible amount of public space that's been preserved, and it's beautiful. And you can find some places that are not too busy. So, and the Hudson Valley website, which we can link to, that has all the trails and all the parks. It is much easier to navigate than the national park website, which I could not figure out how to filter between a park and the Ulysses S. Grant Memorial.
No, I know.
It's like why don't you go to the Statue of Liberty? I'm like, I don't want to go to the Statue of Liberty. It's a terrible suggestion,
Yeah, the national parks don't have great web interfaces, and that would be like my dream project. They did.
If only you and I knew any organizations that built websites.
Right. They did run a campaign a few years ago called Find Your Park that was a little more helpful. But as you say, the filters weren't so great. So you end up getting a statue at the end of the street when you're looking for like a 10-mile hiking trail.
Right. Yeah. I actually like the Find Your Park hashtag, and I use that.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, what's interesting to me now, if we're still in, this level of lockdown or close to at Christmas, Ryan, you might need to get some hiking gear.
Yeah, if it gets cold out there. Yeah, I also don't think that hiking is great for me in like August. I get a little hot.
Right. No, the fall is the best time, of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, I think you are about 2 steps away from the second shelf on the right upstairs in my bureau, which is my hiking pants shelf. Those pants, they zip off under the knee so that midway through the hike, you can get that refreshing breeze on your lower legs. It's a great look. It's got the cargo pants. You're still hiking in your New York City sneakers. I don't like that. I think it's ready. Time to commit to the track. It's time to commit to the hiking pant.
I think hiking pants might. So wait, you do shorts? What are you worried about? Ticks? I'm like tick phobic.
Yeah. Am I worried about ticks? I'm worried about ticks if I'm in high grass, but usually I'm hiking on a kind of a dirt trail. And
do you think that ticks are not in trees and around? I mean, they're everywhere. They're ticks. They don't need to be in grass.
No, they are mostly in high grass. Plus, I've done enough that I know how to do a tick check on myself. Yeah. And if you're hiking with a partner, that can be a fun, sexy time. You can do
it's great.
Mutual tick checks.
You're like chimpanzees, like picking the ticks out of each other's hair.
Yeah, exactly.
It's great.
Well, so just one more time, the hikes that you recommend, a bit of a drive from New York City that you've been going to, just to wrap up the segment, you've hit.
I'm going to say Harriman State Park, Black Creek Preserve, and South Mountain Reservation. South Mountain's actually in New Jersey, but 3 terrific more local parks. I think South Mountain's actually a local park, but 3 really fun places to go hike that were not too crowded.
This is very good. I also think maybe it's a good idea to get Peter Kujawinski back in here talking about state parks, because people are desperate for these areas now. I mean, talk about a time to appreciate the system. I believe when he was on, he said there are 800 plus state parks. So chances are there's a state park near you.
That's a lot of state parks.
Look to your left, look to your right. One of those places you just looked is a state park.
Yeah, it's incredible how many state parks New York has. So I feel bad for not exploring them. It literally took a global pandemic to get me into the wilderness. And now I'm like Teddy Roosevelt. I'm out there just.
Well, let's not go too far, but it encourages me. It makes me think that one day you and I will actually embark on that trip that we've said we'll take 1,000 times to Theodore Roosevelt National Park in North Dakota.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
Because the Dakotas have done a great job at locking down.
I don't know. The Dakotas are a problem.
All right, Ryan. Well, listen, how about... go ahead.
We have, so there is huge news down under. Huge news.
Yeah, absolutely. Ryan, as it turns out, we're moving on from the segment where Ryan talks about what he's been up to. Because it turns out, Ryan, and you brought this to my attention.
Yeah.
We're huge in Australia.
We are massive in Australia, and we don't even have an Australian publicist. We have a European, Pacific.
Our editor is Australian.
Right. I think that, probably, we got to tip our hat to Archie for this one.
Thank you very much, Archie. What we're talking about is that Out of Office travel podcast was featured as one of the 8 travel podcasts we love for a site called Wake Up. And it's an Australian website.
We love Wake Up.
Absolutely.
I found this, I go to Wake Up every day to keep up on the latest
it's where
content.
You should wake up. Exactly.
I wake up, I go to wakeup.com.au, of course.
It's a great destination to figure out hostels that you could, budget places that you can stay when out exploring Australia.
It's your kind of travel site. But it's great because they say that we give let me just read it.
Absolutely. It was so flattering.
So our good friends at wakeup.com.au. .au is the Australian domain, apparently.
Yeah.
This podcast is great to get a really varied range of travel content going through your ears, from local day trips to high-flying overseas adventures, from practical advice to outlandish tales.
It's true.
Their guests include New York Times travel editors, documentary filmmakers, and escape room experts. And currently, we're changing up our schedule. Because we're focusing on content the listeners will find useful during the pandemic, which we think is probably not that much content. And then they end with brilliant. So that's a pull quote.
Well, can I tell you what I really like is it's very clear that this person has actually listened.
multiple. They've listened to more than my mother has. I mean, this is a really thorough. Yeah.
And what I also like about this, first, we should also just say thank you. Thank you to Wake Up. You. We are big fans of your service. We hope that folks who need to book and are looking for places to stay, check out wakeup.com.au or wakeup.com, which isn't exactly in the spirit of, getting out there and doing it. But, and Ryan, I also like that 2 slots above us on this list is that Out of Office podcast that came out after we did and stole our name. But people accidentally found us and we just saw our listens skyrocket. Just that classic hockey stick.
And then they just stopped making their podcast.
Yeah, we didn't like that one. So we agree with Wake Up on our podcast, obviously, and a couple other good ones on here. Now, Women Who Travel, that's quite a good one.
Now we've got friends of the pod, Rick Steves. They recommend his podcast.
They do.
As well.
Now that's a perfect transition, right? So they also recommend Rick Steves' Travel Talks, which is pretty good. I've mentioned it here from time to time on the pod. But Ryan, that leads us into an important update on the quest for Rick Steves.
The quest for Rick Steves.
Now, you loyal listeners, and really, it's only going to be loyal listeners listening to these episodes. You'll remember that we are on a quest to try to get the man himself, the PBS travel luminary, Rick Steves, to come on the show. And we've had New York Times editor, renowned authors. I mean, these are amazing guests, just the people that Wake Up Australia called out. But Rick Steves has remained elusive. And I thought last time we talked, I thought, this would be exactly the moment to try to get Rick Steves on the show.
He like everybody else is not traveling right now.
Because he, like everybody else, is not traveling right now.
Yeah.
And so I actually wrote back to the PR folks. And I'll just...
Oh, they must have been happy to hear from you.
Absolutely. I'll just read you the email that I sent off to Danielle, our friend at PR@ricksteves.com. Hi, Danielle. Given the complete shutdown of the travel world, my co-host and I were just wondering whether Rick might be able to accommodate an interview for the Out of Office podcast at this time. Since coronavirus has hit, we are providing listeners with a more subdued but still reassuring and upbeat tone. Rick has always been a comforting presence for travelers and PBS lovers, and we'd love to chat through the effects on your brand and service, Rick's predictions about how we recover, and his broader agenda of building understanding and empathy through travel. It feels like just the right message for these tough times. Thanks. Sincerely, Kiernan Schmidt.
What a lovely email.
Lovely thought. You could tell I really thought about it, right? This was not like a generic get it out the door email. I wanted them to know what a true fan I am. Right. And PR@ricksteves.com wrote back, "Hi, Kiernan. I hope you're doing well. Unfortunately," this is where I knew the turn was negative. Unfortunately, with the large amount of media requests Rick is receiving, we're unable to coordinate an interview. Thanks for your understanding, and we appreciate you reaching out to us. Kind regards."
Well, she does her job well because she responds to all of your emails.
Quickly, too. Yeah. I mean, this one came back very, very fast. Yeah, it's almost like they had pre-written it.
Yeah, it's almost like she's not even running it up the flagpole anymore. They've gotten like an answer.
Right, right. Yeah. Oh, it's like an automatic responder just for when I write.
Like if Kiernan writes, you have her approval to just say no.
Right.
Yeah.
It's it's disappointing. I still do believe that these are not getting to the man himself. I have to believe with that pitch that I offered. That he would have come on board. And I'll tell you what really just it got a little under my skin is that while they claim that he's so busy, there was also an update in a newspaper called the Edmonds Beacon, your hometown news source. And the story, it's called Hello from Eight Oaks. And it says the following. There's a picture of Rick Steves, and he's kind of perched on what looks like kind of your average American center main street area, waving at cars. And it says, Rick Steves, the world famous European travel expert, has found himself and his tours grounded by the coronavirus. But Steves lives in Edmonds, so there are worse places to be while waiting for better days. One of his particular passions is hanging out, literally, at the city's iconic fountain at 5th and Main. It may not be totally legal, but Steves likes to wave to passersby and spread some of his trademark enthusiasm. So Rick Steves is spending his time in his hometown going to a busy intersection and waving at people. But he's too busy, according to his PR people, to come on to this travel podcast.
Well, wait, where does he live exactly?
Edmonds.
Where is Edmonds?
Edmonds, Washington.
So that's far. So we can't just show up there.
No, trust me, I thought. But even if I could just show up there, I couldn't get within 6 feet of him. So I'd have to put the mic on a big boom and, try to get it over him. I need him to call in digitally, Ryan. That's the way that we're going to make this work. And I just think there is a disconnect between him being so busy and having so many requests and the fact that he's down waving at cars. I think it's lovely that he's doing that, but I do believe Danielle PR at ricksteves.com that he could do both. I
mean, I could just tweet at him and be like, hey, you should come on the show.
We have tried that tactic before, but you know what? We need something to update for our next quarantine episode. So Ryan, I want you to pull that trigger. It is time for you to take up this sword and go on the quest for Rick Steves.
I am taking the sword from you, and like Arthur in that tale, I'm going to use it to get Rick Steves on the show.
All right, Ryan. Well, listen, I think we're winding down here. The last thing I just wanted to mention: have you been reading a bunch of like your typical kind of travel news and checking out the Travel New York Times, Boston Globe,
no,
things
I
like
mean,
that?
I have not. You read more travel lit than I do. I actually read. So I read a fun. I don't know if I'm gonna call it fun, but I read a very entertaining novel called Station 11. Have you heard about this?
No.
It's a novel by a woman named Emily St. John Mandel. Mm-hmm. And it came out in 2014, got a lot of attention. I hadn't heard of it until recently. A friend of mine recommended it, and it is about a global flu pandemic that ends the world. But what happens is, and this is not giving too much away, it cuts, basically the world ends and then the scene opens on a traveling Shakespeare company as they travel from small village to small village, performing Shakespeare in a post-apocalyptic world in Canada. Yeah, they're a regional company, not union. And it was a really fun book. And I every minute I was reading it, I would have to remind myself, like, this is not my experience. Like, like we're just stuck inside for a while. These characters are in it's a world's really ended for them. So I've been traveling through novel.
Literature.
Yeah, and Station 11. Yeah,
I've been keeping my eye on what travel journalists are up to, because it's a tough time to be a travel journalist. Turns out it was a good year for the New York Times not to do their 52 places traveler.
Yeah. Your couch was everyone's.
Well, you could do like each cushion of the couch, and that could be a different article. And, you can feel that they're really struggling to fill the space. I feel like it's been exhausted. Every museum that's had a virtual tour. And, we're kind of past the novelty of those things. Yeah. And one that caught my eye and just to me epitomizes the day was a New York Times article called "How to Disinfect Your Space on an Airplane." And and it actually was written by a former guest of ours, Tariro Mezazewa. And I gave it a glance, and it's got a lot of what you'd expect. Wash your hands, like sanitize the space with like a Clorox wipe if you can. But I thought this was a useful tip that we can all remember for that next time that we get on a plane. And it was not welcome news to me, which is to choose a window seat. I'm quoting, a study from Emory University found that during flu season, the safest place to sit on a plane is by a window. Researchers studied passengers and crew members on 10 3 to 5 hour flights and observed that people sitting in window seats had less contact with potentially sick people.
Well, I had seen that New York Times animation of the air going into it, and it was
circulating. Yeah,
it was basically horrifying. Like to me, it looks like maybe you're nominally safer by the window, but I don't know.
Well, obviously, if you want to be fully safe, you should just open the window. I mean,
oh God. Oh, Kiernan, when are we gonna? I had friends who had to fly to visit. I'm not gonna name them because they'd be shamed. But I have friends who flew this week, and they said that there was no social distancing going on the plane. It was totally packed. Plane to Houston. Yeah. So not good.
Yeah. I don't plan a trip to any place in Texas anytime soon.
No.
All right, Ryan. Well, listen, let's get another one of these on in the books. We'll do a check-in. We'll come in with some fresh takes. Maybe I'll get out to a state park. You can update us on your travels. We'll keep an eye out in the travel world, and hopefully, this will be the time. Oh, God, wouldn't it be so galling for me if you're the one who secures Rick Steves after all of my questing?
I actually think it would be narratively strong, so I'm hoping it happens.
Honestly, I as long as I can talk to him, I would be more than thrilled. Of course, Ryan, before we do our trademark sign-off, I believe that believe it or not, Ryan, you've become such a podcaster. You're going on other podcasts now.
Yeah, so crime has gone on, and so I was asked by my frenemy, Dorian Davis, who just started a podcast called Trial Again, where they have a juror on, a person to act as a juror, and they're presented with arguments from the defense and arguments from the prosecution, and you have to decide in what direction you think that the trial went, and then the answer is revealed to you afterwards. So I just guested on that in an episode called The Bookkeeper, and we'll link to it in the show notes. But it was a lot of fun, and it is not travel related, but I'm pretty good at talking about crime, so check it out.
Trial Again.
Trial Again. Yes.
It's a hell of a pun.
It is. Well, until next time, Kiernan, I'm Ryan Davis.
And I'm Kiernan Schmidt.
And this is Out of Office, your occasional travel adjacent podcast.
The seat disinfected.
Are you going to travel with gloves, do you think, next time?
I think that I will need a whole separate suitcase for all of the gloves I will be traveling with. Yes.
Do you have a little baby mask for Charlie?
I sure do. But then they came out and they said babies shouldn't have masks because they can't breathe. So I took it off them.
What's more important? Where's the messaging on this? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, we're killing them one way or the other.